Hey guys, Grand Master Thorn here with the Edge Martial Arts. I want to bring you guys through some sparring skills. I figure if you're not in the school and you're sitting at home and you need something to do, why not practice your sparring skills? So these should be things that you can easily do with a partner, but you should be able to practice them without a partner. As long as you can kind of listen carefully, pick up the skills, we should be good. Let's always start our class with a bow. Show of respect is very important to me. So we touch our feet together, we have our back straight, fingers on our side. We have a good bow to show respect. Okay, so this class is going to be geared more towards our intermediate, maybe like a level 2 training for sparring. They're going to be more point fighting based mentality. If you're more into continuous or more of the kickboxing range, you should be able to apply all these concepts. Maybe not the specific drill as much because the stance, the distancing may change and your partner's attacking mentality might change. But once you get this concept, you'll be able to apply it the same way in just about any kind of combat sport, just kind of setting people up for stuff. So let's first start with a warm-up just because I want to get my body loose before I do these skills. And I want you to have your body loose if you're doing it with me. So we're jumping jacks first. So we're just kind of moving our body, getting those shoulders loosened up, get those hips loosened up. Oh man, forward and back jumping jacks. Side to side jumping jacks. In place jumping jacks. Get those arms moving now. Start to kind of shake them out, just those little punches, elbows loose, shoulders loose. All right, stretch that neck out, get some rolling in, turn to the side, look to the ceiling, turn to the other side, look to the ceiling, head down, give it a pull, look up, arch back, a little side to side action, that back loosened up. Let's get our hips and our knees loosened up. So we have a seat, 1 foot out, 1 foot back. Get a good stretch, chin up, arching forward, make sure that leg is straight. I'm not going to talk too much about the details of stretching just because if you're focused on level 2 sparring, you're probably kind of used to getting the stretching in so you kind of know what you're doing. Every time I stop and I sit down long enough to stretch, I kind of think about some of my other martial arts life skills maybe that I need to be working on. Let's switch to the other foot. So, how are we going to be respectful today? Sometimes you got a rough day and you're not really thinking about how you can affect other people in a positive way because you're just not feeling great about how your day is going. Or maybe people are just rude to you and you don't really feel like being nice to others. But you kind of think of the chain reaction of it all. You're in a bad mood because something happened probably to you or around you or is happening to you currently. So then you have kind of a bad attitude, but let's think of maybe what caused that person or people to have bad attitude towards you. Maybe they're having a rough day and then something just set them off when they're around you, right? If you're working somewhere and that happens or at school. Okay, straddle position. So if we can just think of the chain reaction of being positive, even maybe when we're not feeling positive ourselves, right? If we can be helpful or respectful towards someone else. We hold the door for someone at the store. Just the other day I was traveling, I was down in Texas doing some martial arts stuff, and I went to the Walmart to pick up some water, because I was staying in a hotel, and I wanted some water for my room. And there was a lady, as I was exiting, there was a lady coming in, and she had a walker, and she was kind of looking at the carts, which were stacked up, and then she was looking at the door and kind of just looking like she really needed some help. So I just simply offered and said, "Hey ma'am, is there any way I can help you? You look like you need some help." She said, "Yeah, I don't know how I'm gonna get that cart out in front of my walker." Her walker looked like it would attach up to the cart just fine. She could push that way. And I said, "Well, why don't I just grab it? Just simply grab it." Maybe it took let's say a minute of my day, but I just made her day just slightly better, made her feel a little bit better about maybe how other people might react to it, certainly into the sides. And that doesn't take a lot of time, right? And think of how that would positively affect you if, you're deciding to just carry a ton of stuff from the store out to your car, right? Or you're carrying a bunch of stuff from one room to another. Someone walks in and just offers to help carry some of it. I mean, it's kind of nice. So, maybe I'm thinking that my helping her out maybe put her in a little bit better mood. So the next person she interacted with, touch feet together, she had a little bit more positive interaction with that person, right? Compared to maybe if she sat there for 10 minutes and no one helped her, she probably would have yelled at an attendant or someone to come help her. And she'd been crabby and then crabby at the checkout, and the checkout person's kind of crabby with their next person. So I just kind of think of that chain reaction. And that's part of just your martial arts skills. I think about that as our mechanics or our setups, especially as we're getting into sparring. We're going to kind of talk about that stacking of effects. if I have a certain distance, I cause a certain reaction, which then comes back to me. When I have a proper distance, I cause a reaction that is favorable to come back to me. So just think of that. Think of a way that you can be helpful or respectful to other people. Let's get into our hip stretch, because it might circle back to you. I mean, I knew when I helped this lady. I'm in Texas. I'm in a Walmart in Texas. I'm never gonna ever see this lady or anyone ever related to her. She doesn't know who I am. She has no idea. It won't come back to me directly probably anytime soon. And switch other hip. But I just figured, cause someone else's line of people to be a little bit nicer to each other. All right, so let's think of some concepts. Let's hop on up. Remember, always get up and base the right way. So when I'm sparring, beginner levels, we're mainly working on just some really big mentalities. What's an open stance? What's a closed stance? Moving forward, faking, circling. This is just kind of like how to move, like how to walk around in a sparring manner. Once we start to get into level 2 training, now we're starting to work more strategies, some actual more advancing techniques, because level 1 fighters, if you teach them how to do a technique a specific way, it's not going to matter because they're never going to be in the right movement or the right distancing or have enough time to execute real difficult things, where you guys can already walk, so we can teach you to start to dance, right? And my mentality when I'm sparring is that I don't want to guess what's happening. I want to try and read what's happening. I want to try to create what's happening, right? So if I know what you're going to do because I planted the seed in your brain, then I can be prepared to react to it, which will only increase my timing and my effectiveness. So when I'm first looking at this person, we're going to pretend this is a person, right? This is the bully or my opponent, whatever mentality you're thinking, continuous self-defense, point fighting. They want to hit me for sport or for harm, but they want to hit me. They're most likely going to hit me wherever my opening is. If I'm standing like this, they're not going to try to punch me in the nose most likely, right? They're going to try to punch me where they can hurt me. So if I'm standing like this, they're going to hit me in the belly. If I'm standing like this, they're going to punch me in the nose. So we call this framing. Now just putting your hands back like this is horrible framing, because now I have no idea. You might kick me in the groin, hit me in the body, hit me in the face, right? So when I can dictate the fight a little bit, it's going to make it easier. So what I'm going to do is look at my opponent. I'm going to get in my home position. Remember, so we're thinking point fighting mentality to first apply these rules. So I have my home position. My hands are down the center. I have my longer range stance. Initially, what I'm doing in a home position is I'm taking away all center line attacks. Anything that comes down the middle, easily blockable here. Anything down the middle, easily blockable here. Now the shots I have to worry about come around the outside, but I don't know what side. Might come around my left, might come around my right. But I also don't know what height it's going to come around. Could be coming around my chest, could be coming around my face. So what I want to start to do is I want to start to figure out, where do I want the strike to come to, right? Not where do they want it, where do I want it to go to? So if I'm looking at you right now, right, you don't really have a center line attack. If you try to attack high, it's easily blockable, especially with my longer range that I'm using. If you come down low, easily low, right? Depends if what your rule set is, if legs are an option or not, or takedowns are an option, right? But distancing will dictate that, and the rule set of the competition will dictate that. So when I'm here and I have my arms down the center line, I'm taking away everything. So now, if me and you are facing each other, let's say we're in a closed stance. So you have your right leg in front, which means your belly's facing that way, right? And I'm standing like this, and I start to go here. Looking at my position, if you try to throw that front leg round kick coming up here, you're gonna run into arms. Now, we have our strategy in the past called trap the frame. Then you might personally intentionally kick the frame to trap it, to keep the opening open longer. We're not talking about that right now, right? So when I'm here, where is your opening? Where's your easiest spot to score? Where am I not blocking, right? My nose, my face, my ears, this side of my face. So what I'm doing is I'm framing it. It's kind of like a picture. I'm going, hey, look, right? Why do you frame a picture? You want someone to look at it. You want someone to see it, and you want someone to really recognize it. So I frame it. I say, here is your opening, right? Got this guarded, got over here guarded. This is open, right? So when you come striking, how would you strike? No, we can block that, and we can throw whatever our return strike would be to your new opening that you've created, trying to hit my opening. So if I want someone to strike down into my ribs, so there'd be like a punch, side kick, front leg, thrust kick, right? All we're gonna do is we're gonna take our home position. We're gonna extend our hand out a little bit, so I'm moving my hand out away from my face, brings my elbow up, creating the opening, and I move my other hand back, right? And I wanna start to guard this side of me. So now I've said this is closed. This is not here, right? And I'm going to move my elbow out of the way. So now, when I'm standing like this is my frame. I'm framing this part of my body, saying, hey, look, this is a big opening, right? So instead of being in my home position, my elbow comes up. I rotate because I want to take away this side of my head, and I start to frame here. So it's kind of like I'm making, a little picture frame. And now, if you were to try to round kick, that's an easy block, and I can step in, right? If you were to, for some reason, trying to attack over, I'm not sure why you would do that. I mean, I can walk in. Right, where's your easy shot? Here. Now, when you strike there, we can easily block it. We know where it's going. We can start to do our check motions. We can kick if it's a punch coming, right? So the idea is that I want to start to learn how to properly frame. Now, let's look at this frame again. Let's say I go here, and I just move my hand. Is that a big enough opening that you're going to simply say, that's my only target, right? What else do you see? You see the shot up here to my face, right? You see the small fake, and then my nose. So when I go like this, it's pretty obvious that that's the easy shot. Everywhere else is going to take a little bit of work. 2 strikes, a fake strike or a lead strike, and then a follow-up. Where this, if you're fast enough, and you're smart enough, you're good enough, right? You get me in the body. So when I'm here, I simply move my elbow, move my hand, move my hand. Now I've got that body lined up for you. If we're here, and I want it to come low over here, I'm simply going to start to take this hand, kind of lift it up a little bit, purposely kind of leaving my elbow up here. So I've got the center line guarded. I kind of move my head off the line, kind of behind this hand, and I start to kind of go here, saying, look, there's your target. Throw that low round, then I can grab it, sweep, jam it, whatever the rule set is, right? Okay, if I want to go high, I start to bring my home position, now I pop my head out. I don't want to move my hands over, because now my body's in an awkward position. I want to stay in a good position. My stance is just slightly wider. You notice I'm not here, I'm stepping a little bit wider for my long range stance. And I pop my head out over here. Now it's out here. You can take a shot at it, right? Throw your jabs, try and cross it with your punch, pick up your front leg and kick at it. So what I want to do is I pretty much want to look in a mirror. If you have a mirror, that's a great way to do it. Stand there looking, we'll pretend this is my mirror, and I look at myself and I go, what's the easy target? Nothing, right? Everything I throw, I have to move the hands before I can hit the target. So I start to go, okay, yeah, I can see my ribs look good, okay? Definitely my ear and my nose, right? Low shot, high shot. And you want to rotate through these. So if you go here, you get home position. Okay, open up your ribs and down, right? High face backside, low body shot, right? So we have ribs, right? Open them up, okay? High face inside, it should look like this. Which means if you can beat me there, I'll call it, then pause, okay? Face on the backside, yep, you're looking here, okay? Low belly. So when we rotate through these now, we have and this is, I don't know, 30 years of fighting experience. When I do this in black belt competition, guess what they try to hit? Now they might be smarter than I'm trying to keep the frame there. They might try and do some lead stuff, but ultimately, they think they have it, right? So this works at all levels, not just for your beginners or for your intermediates. If I'm standing like this and I start to go here, you know you're not going to score here. And even if you're more advanced, you might try to trap it. So you start doing something here, so my arm is stuck there, and then you try to strike here. Well, I still know it's here, so I just stay very calm until something attacks here, and then I simply move, right? Or we block and we go. So what I'm doing is I'm telling you, I'm not verbally saying, hey, hit me in the face, but by giving you the opening, fighting here, if you perceive that it's an opening, you're going to go for it. If you think that I'm accidentally leaving this thing that you can trap my hand and kick, you're going to go for it. It makes it super simple, right? If I'm standing like this, are you going to try and punch me here? No, because then I can step in. So you're going to go there. It's real simple. So this is called framing. I'm making an opening that I've chosen, right, for a distance, for a stance, for a technique that I want, and covering all of those situations is unlikely today because there's lots of them, but essentially, let's say we're in an open stance, which means I have my right leg, so you put your left leg, both our bellies are facing this way, right? And we're in this home position, and I start to frame up my ribs, right? So now, if I'm farther, like this distance here, do you think the person's going to try to punch me when they can't reach me, right? Probably not. What's a lead technique for this range? Kick can reach to this range, right kick can reach to this range. So what I do is I purposely step just outside of range so that a foot wants to go. Now let's say again, I do the same frame. Over here, open up my ribs in an open stance. and I go like this. Now I'm closer to the person. Are they going to kick at it? No, it's too close to try to kick. Can't round kick, definitely would not try to throw a hook kick, right? So what are they going to try to throw? Hands. I take this hand here and I'm mirroring their front hand. I'm blocking it, right? This hand is here. Their back hand to my body is the target, right? So if I'm here and I start to creep in, I'm creeping in like this, and I start to really open up that body, when that backhand goes, then I can throw that side kick, because as the person's fighting, so we're in open stance, but this way, and I see that bottom rib, right? So you open it up, I see that rib, this hand's being blocked by your front hand, like you're kind of copying, you're mirroring it, and I go to punch, look what my body does. I open up for that defensive side kick, I give that to you. You don't have to read and react, all you have to do is react. You know where they're going, based on your distance, based on your opening, right? We can do some more reads. If your person's sitting back like this, they're probably kicking at you, right? If they start to come forward with weight on the front leg, they're probably throwing their hand at you. So these are things we want to read. If you're doing this open, you're getting closer, your person keeps turning their butt like this, well, you know they're trying to kick you, so they're not following directions like you're giving them. You know, if you get closer, they start to kind of shift, you see them rotate, weight goes to the front leg, front shoulder drops, you know they're not kicking, especially that range, you know they're throwing their back hand. So there's a reads we make along with our frame. So essentially what I'm doing in my brain, it's a chess game, right? This is that chain reaction. I said, I want to side kick this person. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to need to get them to punch, because I want a side kick versus punch, right? Rock, paper, scissors. So I'm going to say my side kick means punch. So I have to go, okay, what do I do to get him to punch? Well, I need to be closer. Okay, well now if I'm here, right, how do I dictate where he punches? My frame. So if I want to side kick him, I don't just side kick him. I don't just wait to hope to see an opportunity. I get closer. I create a frame for a punch. When they do what I ask them to do is punch, I side kick them. So this is framing, right? We have the same mentality with trying to get someone to kick us. Say me and you are facing each other, I have you go right leg in front, right? So your belly should be that way, we're in a closed stance. And let's say you're a talented kicker, right? You're able to bounce, right, and throw your front leg up to someone's face. Or back leg, or whatever situation, you're a talented kicker, right? So if we're here, and I get a little bit lower like this, I make it easier. So I have my frame, but I have my situation, my distance, my height. These are all very important. We're here in a closed stance. This hand starts to mirror your front hand. So if your front hand moves this way, I start to mirror a little bit, right? I try to keep your front hand. I might even grab it if we're close enough. But remember, if I grab it, I'm now looking at your back punch because I've changed that distance enough to grab your hand. So I'm here, outside of range, I'm kind of blocking. I'm trying to keep my face open because I want your front foot to come up to my face. Maybe even my chest, depending on your flexibility. So I start to go here, kind of framing, right? I'm keeping this open. So now, if you're looking at me, you do that to me, right? So you start framing, your hands are kind of moving this way, you're guarding, your face is leaning out this way. When my leg comes up, look at this. You have body, if I'm blocking body, you have face. As my leg comes up, it's rounded. So as my leg comes up in a rounded motion, nothing stops you from coming forward. I could try to do this down the center line. That's not going to happen. And because you know I'm going, your speed is fast enough. But as my foot comes up, you can come running down the center line and get there before I can react to it. So what we have is a frame for a situation that you know the answer to. Right? It's a win. I don't know how we lose this. So we're bouncing, right? You create the frame. So your hands are center line, you're bobbing your head out this way because we're in a closed stance because you want to meet my front leg. You're just outside my range, right? So when I go here, most people aren't smart enough not to skip their back foot up. So this is a key. You'll see this. Bam! When you see this, you go, right? Okay, so we're bouncing. When I see this, now you just charge forward. You would be in this frame position, step and jab, punch, jab, punch, high, low, you know, whatever it is, rolling your knuckles and striking. So you're simply going to be bouncing. And now that you have the frame, I want to throw my kick. If you're just outside my range, I can't reach you, right? I'm like this. So what am I going to do? A lot of people get their feet apart, they'll step up to throw the kick. So when they step up, what do you react to? You know it's a round kick. As soon as this foot moves, you hit them, bang. Now you've hit them. They didn't even get their foot off the floor. They have no idea how you read the situation that fast. But you're not reading, you're creating it through framing, right? So we're bouncing, right? I take my foot, I step. When I step, you attack, okay? Does that make sense? So that's how your reaction works. So Very simply, open stance, frame body, when they go punch, side kick. If you'd rather react to kicks, closed stance, face open framing, step in and jam. There's tons of these. There's tons of these we can do. We could frame them for side kicks and do counters, do checks. We can come in on backhands, come on front hands, defensive punches. We can do all these fun things. So this would be a system of creating openings, right, through the person striking. If you keep doing this to people, which is fun, they will stop striking. They will start to think a lot more than strike a lot more, because every time they react to an opening, you're hitting them. If you can stop the person from attacking and go more on defense, you can do another system of called creating openings. You can do this through fakes, you can do it through combinations, right? Both are effective. Depends on your person's reaction ability, right? So if I'm bouncing with my partner, I'm going to pretend it's my partner, I'm bouncing right in the home position, and I'm kind of going like this. And I'm kind of throwing my hands up, because my fake should resemble maybe like 10% of my technique. And there's other videos where I'll talk more about fakes, but I do my 10% body fake, right, or 10% technique fake. So I'm trying to create an opening. I want the person to guard their ear so I can't come across the ground, right? So when I come across the ground, I want them to be forced to block their head and or react with a strike. So when I'm coming at the face in a closed stance, first they can either block and strike, they can block and kick, or they could just simply block, right? So when I come across, I guess they can move. Moving's boring, but good option. So when I come across the ground, I'm hoping that my timing distancing is so good that moving's not really an option. Gun flat-footed. So I'm mounting, right? And we're going here, we're going fake, fake, we're blitzing. So now the person is reacting most likely, right? Especially if they're beating me, if they are punching me, if they are blocking me, if they are moving, circling, whatever, or they're kicking me, they're beating me. This is forcing them to create openings. Every time you do something, you create an opening somewhere. So if I start faking at the head and the person starts moving their hand, then I want to throw my backhand to the body, right? So I might fake and blitz a couple times. Now that I know the person, as they start to see my front hand blitz, or they're getting to react to it as their hand comes up, so as I start to go here, I watch. If the person starts to twitch, like they're getting ready to block their head, then I start the motion and then hit the ribs, right? Or my favorite is when the person starts to defensive punch. So I'm faking, right? I'm faking, and I start going, and they're throwing a punch down to my ribs. They're blocking and punching at my body. When I start to get that kind of reaction, our next goal is to use this opening to score. Not just learn to create it, not just see what's happening. We're going to use it to score. And I'll show you a fun little like chess match you can dig around in your brain after I do this drill. So let's say I'm sparring with the person. I'm bouncing, I fake, I don't get a reaction. The person just sits there. Their head's open. I go, well, they must not be framing because they're not reacting when I'm faking. So I'm going to go. So then I shoot my front hand blitz, right? Come across you on front hand, then backhand to the body. And I'm tagging the person. Hopefully, I'm fighting with a like level competitor. So the next thing they're starting to do, based on distancing, I'm giving them is body punch. If I was blitzing from out here, they probably would side kick me in the chest or the face, right? I start to get here, and I'm going, and when I go, they take their hand, they block, and they punch my ribs. When someone throws a defensive punch, their chest, their face, everything's open down the center line. Maybe they're blocking here, so you still got stomach. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go like this. I'm going to shift, and I'm going to reach my hand out. I get about 10% of my motion. My feet are in a super straight line. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to step my foot up behind me, rotate my butt, and throw a side kick to the body. My lead hand forces the person to block, lifting up and opening the ribs, or crunch and opening up the bottom of their belly. Or go like this if we're doing more continuous and just take a super hard kick in the arms, right? So what happens is I start to lead my hand and I start to see the person blocking and opening a rib, rotating forward, going for a punch. I read my reactions, right? And we're going to skip up and kick the person. So the jab causes the defensive reaction. The side kick comes in and takes advantage of it wherever the opening is. So the skill or the technique is shift the weight, reach the hand. I'm already rotating my shoulder because I want my hip. I don't want to be like this and trying to kick from this position. So I'm reaching my hand. I step behind my foot. That way I can rotate my hips. This way when my leg comes up, it's chambered properly. If I make a mistake and step to my belly side, right, now my leg has to come around this way for a proper chamber to kick hard, or it has to just fling out in front. Right, that's not going to do anything for me. And it makes me super jam. If someone steps into this position, I really don't have anything I can do about it. I'm kind of in a bad spot. So what happens is I'm going to shift my weight, make my hand come out so they read it. I step up behind, turn my hips, foot's pivoted for power, heel to the target. Okay? Aim wherever you want to aim with that one. So for bouncing, fake, fake, you're reading this reaction out of the person, lean, and then as soon as you start to lean, you're going to make a skip. Okay, so instead of making this plant, pick up, kick, this kind of multiple step slow motion, try to make this a skip. So go here, skip. So you're shifting your weight, give them the hand, and this foot comes up. It's kind of like it's kicking this foot out of the way. So it comes up, kicks my leg, this one chambers. Okay, try and get your pivots so you can hit with power. So it's 1, 2. And by doing that, what you cause is the person's arm to come up, creating an opening for the second strike. You might be able to touch the person, but then now look at this. Not a lot of range for that side kick. This isn't going to do a lot of damage when I'm in this position. I'm under 90 degrees. Not going to have a lot of power. I want to get my side kicks at least at 90. It makes it hard to jam and stop them coming forward. Right? So I want to be right here. Right? Now watch if I make this skip mistake. So I go here, and watch where I skip to. I got all this range, and I skip to this. If the person's not creating space, if they're just trying to like do a baseball swing thing, they just stop and just swing their hand out like you would if you're hitting a baseball. Like in baseball, you don't adjust distance. You just plant and swing at the right time. So that's my mentality. If the person's just planting and swinging, then I don't need to change my distancing as I'm kicking. It's need to be in the right spot. If someone were actually like adjusting forward and back, that would mean my skip is different. But right now, at this range, I'm too close. It doesn't work. So what I want to do is kind of say, okay, I'm going to kick him right there. But this is my friend, and I'm going to kick here. I like the person. This is a competition where they pay me money. I'm going to kick to back here. Create a hole in the person. Right? So this is kind of where we can start to figure out where we're going to skip to. We're here, fake, and kick. And it's a skipping motion. Skipping. Right? So I shuffle my foot up. And now I don't want to shuffle up here like this, and now try to pivot as part of my kick. You're just not going to do it. I want to skip up into a pivoted position. So my foot's already pivoted back the opposite way so I can drive off this leg when I meet resistance to my partner. Right? Now the timing in slow motion would be we start to lean forward. As soon as my weight hits this foot starts to pick up. I'm going to hop to my other foot. As my hand's coming back, my foot's coming out. Right? So the timing is we start to shift. As soon as this weight is on this foot's light, so it comes up. It's kind of like rocking. Right? I'm rocking from my back foot to my front foot. So I go shift, my weight comes off my foot, my arm starts to go out towards their target, the face, wherever I'm trying to aim. And now, as soon as my foot's up, it's going to replace this foot. So I go here, replace. This hand's going to come back, and my side kick goes out. Okay? So we go 1, 2, because if I go 1 and back, the person's arm is going to go flinch and back. I need it to be that I'm touching right close, depending on the reach of my arms and my legs, or putting out. As my person's arm is going up, I'm still kicking, right? So think about this. If you throw a jab and I react, right? So my arm's already up, it's done moving, it's not moving. As you start to kick and I start to drop my elbow, I'm going to meet you there, right? So you can't go jab. I have my arm up, it's done moving up. You start to kick, and I drop. You need my arm going up as your leg is going out so that I have to then stop my momentum and try to catch your leg in time. So as I'm doing this, their arm is going up, right? As I'm stepping up, it's now reaching the top, maybe, and now it's coming back down as my foot's coming out, right? I don't want it to be done moving. As I'm standing like this, my foot's not going to be fast enough to tag it. So you might be thinking, say I do this, I threw a front hand blitz, I score. I see the person adjusting, I throw a fake, I read they're going to defensive punch, I say, great, let's create an opening. I fake, they go to punch, I side kick, right? So now, the person says, let's not do that anymore. Let's keep our arms tight, right? We'll try to bring our head down instead of moving our arms up. That's fine. We go 1, bring our arms down, another target. So 1, and then we kick them upside the head with a round kick, right? So this could start to play a lot of fun things with us. So essentially, by creating an opening here, right, with this one we get the body. When they start to guard the body, we probably have the head. What if they start to block like this, right? Right through the center of the hand. So you're going to have a target just off this lead front hand jab fake. Distancing would hopefully be what our partner would start to use instead of blocking, but if they don't, if they keep using blocking, they just keep picking them apart different spots. Okay, so we have created openings in 2 ways. We covered framing, which creates an opening through giving the person a choice where to strike so we know how we want to react in advance. The other option is our partner's reacting to what we're doing, and we create the opening through fakes and through strikes that make the hands move. So hopefully this kind of gives you some mentality, some ideas on how we could do this. And the way it all kind of plays together is, I told you I'd give you something to think like a chess match. Let's say I'm looking at my partner, they're a smart person, right? And when I'm looking at them, I see this big opening, right? Let's say the person's sitting, we're in a close stance, you put your belly that way. Okay, right leg in front. So now we're here, and I start to go like this. Where's your target, right? My head. So when you lead your front hand up to my head based on distance, say, when we're closer, you shoot your front hand to my head, what am I gonna do? I know what to do, I'm gonna defensive punch. You being smart, you're faking the jab to my head to get me to throw the punch. Throw, your sidekick can score. You see how this could be a chess match? If you understand framing, and you understand creating openings through combinations, this could go both ways. Makes it a little bit scary to now go for the opening or to create it, because you have to figure out, am I being set up by a frame, right? Or when I'm using my frame, does my partner recognize my frame? And are they gonna use it against me? So it kind of makes it fun, you can play with this. Now what I want you to do is first kind of study some rock, paper, scissors. What beats what, right? We have that in I think we have developed called the Sparring matrix. You can look that up. But what happens is there's always techniques that if both people have equal skill, timing, size, and everything else, they beat. Like front hand blitz is always beat by defensive punch, right? With proper, same person reactions, right? Okay? Defensive sidekick beats backhand blitz. So there's things that will beat it. Now Wally beats sidekick, and we can go on and on forever. So this is something to play with. Start to develop openings, figure out what technique will be thrown at it from what distance, figure out your counter or your reaction to that technique, and then start to play that way. 2, start to figure out what techniques you like to throw, figure out what reaction you get from your partner, and then figure out what openings are created by your initial strike. And then start to really think about it. It can be fun. You can start to say, okay, I'm gonna go into this match, I'm gonna score front hand blitz because the person keeps their hands low. After my front hand blitz, the next time I go to get my point, I'm going to be looking for a side kick to the body because most likely this person's intelligent, and if I show them the same technique twice in a row, they'll have the answer with a defensive punch, right? After I throw my side kick to the body, this person's not going to like me very much, and they're going to guard the ribs a lot better. It should leave an opening on their head, right? So you can start to use this striking pattern. You can say, now, the person's going to start to be aggressive because they're sick of me attacking them, so now they're going to start to come forward. So I'm simply going to just create the body opening because they're going to want to side kick me in return, right? So now I'm going to get in an open stance, and when they throw the side kick, we're going to swat it to the side and ridge hand them in the skull. They're going to switch their stance, they're going to switch their hands because they're afraid of kicking. I'm going to frame, they go for the blitz, I'm going to punch. So we can start to think of this mentality before the match starts and start to come up with our strategies. And you can have these going in. So instead of just looking at a target trying to hit it, right, or trying to just read and react at the spur of the moment, we're setting up these things in advance, right? So does that make sense? Hopefully that kind of helps. This was working on what we call framing, right, which is a strategy for our level 2 fighters, and then also working on creating openings, which is also, again, a strategy for our level 2 fighters. So thank you for coming down, taking the time to take the class with me. We're going to finish this class with a bow and show respect. So attention position, feet together, hands on your side, and a good bow, and then I hope to see you again soon. Thanks.